Good morning, class. Happy Tuesday. Today's learning target is to describe the origins, the beginnings, the causes, the history of the Constitution. That's what our next unit is going to be focusing on. First thing I will do is give you the essential questions for this unit. We are then going to split up this lesson on the origins of the Constitution over 2 days. So part 1 of notes will happen today. Part 2 of notes will happen tomorrow. After notes are done, and you should do the notes first, otherwise you can't do this, there is an Excel slip. It'll be a Google form. It's on Google Classroom that is due today at 3 p.m. So what I'd recommend right now is you get out something to take notes with, whether that's a paper or Google Doc is up to you. Just keep in mind that similar to the test, the first unit, I do expect it to lock your Chromebook. So wherever you take your notes, make sure that by your test, they'll be available to you. Also, expect a quiz that will be short, open note, and a classwork grade some point this week on the origins of the Constitution. Last thing is, don't forget, if you want to retake your reflection paper or test, that is due 10 a.m. today. I will not accept any retakes that are turned in after that. Any missing or late work has to be turned in by Friday 3 p.m. Otherwise, those scores will be zeros. So first essential questions, the first two are the same as they were before, so you don't need to write those down again if you don't want to. What does it mean to be a heavenly and earthly citizen? And 2, how do we respond to actively or eagerly awaiting the return of Christ in our civic lives? The third question is the one you will want to write down because it's specific for this unit only, and that is, how does the Constitution fit within Christian discipleship? In other words, what role does the Constitution play for someone who is trying to follow Christ? So maybe pause the video, write that down. What we are going to do is take some notes. These terms are vocab terms. I will put them on Quizlet later. First is the legislature, which is a group of people chosen to make laws. They legislate, which means to make laws. Second is a charter. Charter is different than a constitution. Both are documents, but charters come before constitutions. I don't know why this is blocked by the picture, but it's a document giving permission to create that word says government. That's what a charter is. Natural rights, these are rights that people are born with and that no government can take away. Constitution gives people their rights, some of which are viewed to be natural. You were born with them. Government needs to protect them. Third, Constitution, lowercase c, is a plan of government. Constitution with an uppercase capitalized C is the U.S. Constitution, which is what we're talking about. We are going to take some notes. Make sure you're ready for that. Feel free to pause the video whenever you need. I'm going to try to go fast to keep this video short, so don't be afraid to pause it. And let me know if you have questions on anything we talk about. We are only going to do part 1 today. Save some time. We will do part 2 tomorrow. Let's start from the beginning. Put it in full screen. So we are talking about the origins, the history of the Constitution, what led to the Constitution being created, and the ideas that the Constitution contains for us today. We're going to focus today on everything that happens before colonization. Well, not everything, but at least some of the key things that happen that shape how our government works. First, in ancient Greece, particularly in the city-state of Athens, they came up with a type of government known as a democracy, which gives power in government to the people, specifically the citizens of that state. Athens valued wisdom. Their patron goddess was Athena, who is the goddess of wisdom, and they believed that the people's wisdom should be used in government, hence the democratic system they came up with. Their system is different than ours. They have a direct democracy. The United States does not. What this means is laws are made directly by the citizens back in ancient Athens. This was used during colonization at town meetings. It's not used in the United States today. Today we have something called a representative democracy, which means we vote for people, known as representatives, who make those laws for us. And we'll talk more about how that works later in this course. So again, feel free to pause whenever you need to. And let me know if you have questions. Send me an email, leave a private comment. I'm trying to keep things going quickly. Second, ancient Rome. This is going on just after ancient Greece. The first part of ancient Rome's history consists of the Roman Republic. They also have a democratic system of government, but theirs is more like ours today. It is representative. They would vote for people to make decisions on the people, the citizens' behalf. They had two consuls. A consul is like a president back in ancient Rome. They would have one representing the patricians, who are the upper class citizens of Rome, and another of the plebeians, who are the lower class average citizens of Rome. They also had a senate. The requirements for their senate was that you had to be 60 or older. The reason why they had this age limit is because the older you were, the wiser you were deemed to be. Also, there was a veto power. To veto means to reject a law. The reason I'm bringing this up is because these are all ideas that we borrowed from ancient Rome and use in our government today from the Constitution. 2 down, 2 to go for today. Next one is the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta is Latin for Great Charter. This Great Charter took place in England in 1215, towards the end of the Middle Ages. This charter, this document, was forcibly signed by King John I. King John I was known as being a terrible king. He was not strong. His military failed and lost battles often. He tried to raise taxes to increase the strength of his army, but he did this without permission. As a result, the upper class of England, the barons, these are nobles, basically ambushed him. You can see this picture. He's stuck in this room. He's cornered, and they forced him to sign this document. This document does a lot of things. Most importantly, it limits the power of the king. It limits monarchical power. This idea of limiting the power of a ruler, limited government, rule of law, are two principles the Constitution will use as well. The last one for today is the English Bill of Rights. The United States has its own version of the Bill of Rights that is based predominantly off of England's. This happens hundreds of years after the Magna Carta. In 1689, as part of something called the Glorious Revolution, we're not going to go in the history of that, but this Bill of Rights established rights not just for the barons, not just for the nobles, because that's the only people that were protected in the Magna Carta. This expands these rights to all English citizens, whether you were upper class, middle class, or low class. Some examples from the English Bill of Rights, things like freedom of speech, rule of law. Rule of law means everyone, including rulers, obeys the law. And trial by jury. And all of these ideas we will talk about later in this unit because all of them are given to citizens in the U.S. Constitution as well. Feel free to rewind this video, pause it at any point. We will go through colonial times, Articles of Confederation, and Shays' Rebellion later. I will post this Prezi, but not until after your open note quiz on this information, so it probably won't be until Thursday, just to keep that in mind. So last thing you need to do, and this is what your assignment is for next class, is to fill out this Google form exit slip. This is your homework. There are 3 questions, but only 2 are required. My expectation is that you will provide specific, clear responses for them. First, of all the things we talked about, which one stands out to you as being the most important thing to know? Please don't just say what it is. Please explain a little bit about why. And also, please don't give a vague, generic answer like the origins of the Constitution or the Constitution. That's not helping me whatsoever. I want to know what sticks out most to you as being most important, so I know kind of what you're picking up on and maybe some things you're not exactly picking up on that you should be. Second one, this is also required, which is why I put that word in all capital letters, is you need to ask at least one question. Feel free to ask more as well, or in this third one down here. What is one question? It could be something you don't understand. It could be something you're curious about and you'd like to learn further. It needs to be something about what we talked today. Don't ask me some sort of off-topic question. Make sure it's thoughtful. Make sure it's meaningful. Make sure you state it in a clear way. This third one, is there anything else you don't understand from class today? This is just my way of seeing if you need help with anything, and I will respond to your questions through Google Classroom before tomorrow. So this is your homework. It's due 3 p.m. today. Fill that out before 3 p.m. today, and let me know if you have questions, or just leave those questions here. I'll get back to you by tomorrow. Otherwise, I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.